we ask for information, but for some reason, asking them for this piece of paper, wow, we've gone too far. It's outrageous.
It cost the Arizona taxpayer $700 million.
It costs us about $1.6 billion.
It would really put us in a position of being in between the Constitution and a state law.
Greta, while many states are considering similar laws to Arizona's new immigration law, lawmakers here in the state are considering the next fronts in the immigration debate. One such idea deals with education. The U.S. Supreme Court ruling in 1982, Plyler versus Doe, says that public schools cannot deny the children of illegal immigrants an education. But that hasn't stopped one lawmaker from suggesting just such an idea that would determine how many illegal kids are in the school system here in Arizona. Senator Pierce, you brought us SB 1070, Arizona's new immigration law. When the next legislature meets, you have some ideas about something to do with education.
Well, it's been a long battle of just restoring some common sense and recognizing the cost to the taxpayer and the harm done to the rule of law. But Plyler v. Doe ought to be overturned. It was a badly flawed decision. And again, we're going to ask. We have a right to ask. The taxpayer has a right to know what they're paying. And again, everybody wants to throw out numbers. I'd like a real count. Nothing in Plyler v. Doe says you can't ask information, and everybody have you believe. Of course, that's the left, that's the pundits, that's the people who want to grow the education union in spite of the cost of the taxpayer. Well, the taxpayer has a right to know, and in Arizona, we're going to find out exactly what that cost is. There is a study out that shows that cost is between $1.3 billion and $1.6 billion in the state of Arizona to educate the children of illegal aliens. That's huge. That's a huge number.
In the last legislature, you had SB 1097.
I did.
That bill sought to have the public schools here to try and get an accurate count for the number of children of illegal aliens or illegal children that are in the schools, and it asked them to estimate the cost. In the next session, you're hoping to bring back something that will get an accurate accounting for the number of illegals in the school, but it's currently barred because of the Supreme Court case.
Well, no, it's not barred. Again, it is not barred. Plyler v. Doe does nothing to restrict you from gaining that information. And taxpayers have a right to know what they're paying in education for folks who are in this country illegally, for everybody. We ask about vaccinations. We ask for other data when you come into school. We ask for information. But for some reason, asking them for this piece of paper, wow, we've gone too far. It's outrageous.
If you were to get your legislation through and you were able to determine that there was a significant number of children of illegal immigrants in the system and it was causing a burden, would you support denying those illegal kids education in your public schools here?
Yes, I would. Again, illegal's illegal, and it's the parents who are bringing them here, knowing to get the free stuff, and putting the burden on the taxpayer. The taxpayer has an obligation, a right to know who they're paying for.
From the standpoint of incarceration, medical treatment, and education, do you have a sense for how much of a stress it put on the state to have illegal kids in our schools, and perhaps how many there are?
Yes, the Pew Hispanic Trust did a study a couple of years ago. We had 150,000 English language learners out of 1 million students, and they found that 125,000 of them were children of people who crossed the border illegally. Now, half of those were born here, so they're citizens, but none of them would be here if the federal government hadn't been negligent at the border and let people cross the border illegally. So there's 125,000 students that Arizona's paying for the education for that it wouldn't have to but for federal negligence. Those 125,000 students cost the Arizona taxpayer $700 million, which is a very big burden.
So $700 million to the Arizona taxpayers because of the illegals in our schools, in your schools?
Well, they're not all illegal because some of them were born here, but children of people who cross the border illegally, half born here, half brought here, cost the Arizona taxpayer $700 million. In other words, had the federal government not been negligent at the border, we would not be spending $700 million that we now have to spend as a direct result of federal malpractice at the border.
Is it your sense that there is support for a movement with regards to, say, the birthright citizenship, the 14th Amendment, or there's talk of bringing back some sort of law that would specifically have schools identify who's illegal in their classrooms and find out the cost?
Well, I think the birthright is of great concern to people. People don't want to be suckers, and you know, right now a family can cross the border illegally, sneaking around the guards, present at a hospital, say the woman is pregnant, has no money, the hospital has to deliver the child for free, and then they can go back to Mexico, and that child has American citizenship for the rest of his life and can come back anytime he wants. That's really playing the Americans for suckers, and I think people think something should be done about that.
Your state senator, Russell Pierce, that put forth the SB 1070, has told us he intends to bring back a piece of legislation in the new session in January that would require the public schools like yourself to account for the number of children of illegal immigrants and to estimate a cost. What are your thoughts on something like that?
Well, I'd have to see exactly what that legislation looked like. But it sounds like it would really put us in a position of being in between the Constitution and a state law, which puts us in a very difficult position. Do we follow the Constitution and violate state law, or do we follow state law and potentially violate the United States Constitution?
With respect to Senator Pierce's proposal, Tucson's Unified School District Superintendent, Dr. John Carroll, says in a statement, quote, "Similar legislation has been held unconstitutional in federal court, and other states around the country have concluded that public schools should not question students about their immigration status." Applying the same reasoning, Tucson Unified School District believes that, under federal law, it is not permitted to ask students or their parents to verify their immigration status, and that to do otherwise would deny undocumented students their constitutional right to equal access to public education.